Hey, what's up to the point listeners? It's your boy Chris, along with my good friend, my dear friend, Chatty P in the place to be, rocking his Wabash Little Giants gear today. I see. Man, you prepping up
Right.
a little football or what? Football season?
We are off the first week. They don't start till next weekend, but yeah, we're getting ready to roll.
Dude, Mason has his first freshman football game that next week. So
Perfect.
yeah, it's football season, baby. Let's go.
It
I'm
is.
excited.
Thank God.
I am excited for some football season. And we had a nice little, I don't know if you saw these guys, all even our guests, you guys might have saw. I saw it was national news. I don't quite understand why, but we had a big haboob here in Phoenix, Arizona. Do you know what a haboob is?
Nope.
Yeah, it's basically a dust storm, but it's like a wall of dust. So when you get off here, Google haboob, Haboob, and you'll see. That's kind of what we dealt with. But people were reaching out to us like, hey, you guys okay? I'm like, it's just a dust storm, man. Not a big deal. But it is always interesting here. Like, if that's the only natural disasters we get in Phoenix, Arizona. So, like, I'll take it. Chad, I know you're going to be really disappointed, man. I know you're going to be disappointed because I am going to skip the dad jokes today.
All right.
And we're just going to get down to business. Okay. And we have a great podcast today, and I'll tell you why. This is a question that I know both you and I, Chad, have been asked quite a bit. Is just like who, what, how is anything AI, call AI related, call answering AI related? Like, who do I go with? Why? What's the upside? What's the downside? I'm nervous. Like all the questions we figure. Well, let's just bring Tyson on and answer the questions directly on what the contractors have given us. So we literally gathered a group of questions from contractors from not only our group of friends, but a bunch of other contractors to ask you, Tyson. So we're going to kind of put you on the spot today, bro, and just hammer you with some of the questions that these guys have. And, one of our good friends, Chad and I's good friends, Aaron Gaynor, I know that you guys are working with him in Eco. And he kind of gave me some of his perspective on like what he loves about, like what he likes about this so far as, with his experience and what he's kind of went through. And I think it's pretty cool, man, to have some like real life experience from one of our buddies, talking about it. But we have Tyson Chen, who's the founder of Avoca AI, which I think I met you for the first time, Tyson, at Pantheon. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before. I think so.
Yep.
Maybe 2020, because it started in 2022, right?
Yeah, so we started in 2022, and our first year of Pantheon was actually last year. So I think I came to
Last
find
year.
you at your booth last year.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of wonkiness there too, because at the time we still had our sister company Nexa, which has since sold, and then it allowed us to actually do something together. So here we are. I appreciate your persistence, bro.
I think I messaged you like must have been a dozen times, but yeah, glad we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, dude, you're on it. And MIT grad, right?
Yeah,
Computer
class
science.
2017. Yep.
Yeah, class 2017. Could have done without that, but whatever. And we got Paul Barth on here from TurnPoint too. And Paul's going to be able to share a little bit of his experience as a client who oversees many, many brands. The TurnPoint name, everybody knows who it is, and there's lots of brands within it. So to kind of have your perspective, I think is cool, Paul. So welcome to the show to both of you. I'm ready to get after it, man. And we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to dig right in. And the biggest takeaway that we'll get from this podcast to understand not just what it is, but the how and the experience, the client, the customer experience, the homeowner experience with using AI. The challenges, everything has challenges because half the battle is figuring out the challenges and how to overcome them. And then the upsides too, right? Because there's great upside to it. How maybe it works with CRMs, how does it, book into CRMs? I think we're gonna ask some great questions. So I'm going to jump into it. And Chad, I will steamroll this one because I have so many questions. So the drill, dude. Just trying to chime in when your brain does what it does, like normal. So if you guys are ready, let's just kick it off with the basics, Tyson. This is my softball to you, okay? So maybe just explain to our listeners right now, what all does Avoca AI offer to the contractors?
Awesome. So Avoca AI, we are a voice AI platform for the trades dedicated for residential home services businesses. Our core product is the AI CSR. So basically being able to 24/7 handle every call in a human-like way and we have the best-in-class booking rates. So usually people start using it's 2 phases. Phase one, we're going to be the best answering service you've ever had, and then phase two, over the course of 3 to 6 months, as the AI gets smarter and smarter, it will get to the point where it's on par with your average in-house CSR. And at that point, folks switch it to first line of defense. So being able to handle every call on the first ring. And usually at that point, we can get to around 80%. And Chad, obviously, we just spoke about this a week or so ago with Matt over at CallDad, who uses this. So yeah, that's really what we are known for. And over the last 6 months, we've also expanded quite a bit. We have a coaching product, so be able to coach CSRs, listen to every call, and coach them, and then also being able to outbound, so being able to do things like scheduling outbound routine maintenance, follow-ups and unsold estimates, happy calls, and do that in an intelligent way that is able to fill up the board. And so that's really the two things: fill up the board and close every lead. Are the two main things that Avoca does.
Hey, quick question. I'm already going to go off my own script. The coaching tool, I'm assuming you're using a tracking number to be able to do the coaching off of. Is that how that works? How's the coaching tool work? Because if I'm a contractor, I'm thinking, well, I have all my tracking numbers in place. Do I have to change providers? Like, is there something like that? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, no, not at all. So we integrate with a lot of telephony systems, and so we directly pull the calls based on them. So a popular one, obviously, is just folks that use ServiceTitan directly. We're able to directly connect into ServiceTitan, and we're able to, you don't have to change any numbers. We're able to grade every call, and we're also able to do things like reclassify, because there's oftentimes misclassifications when you let CSRs grade their own calls, and a variety of other issues. We're able to correct and correctly disposition those.
We are well aware of that at Rhino Strategic Solutions on the lead attribution being changed by CSRs, and have been impacted by that, which is now why we have a ServiceTitan product specialist in-house to help support that. Obviously that's a big deal, because when that happens, it jacks up all the numbers, right? And we're making contractors making big decisions based on data integrity, right? So anyway, that was just one thing immediately popped into my mind. Now I'm going to ask you this question. This is what you get asked all the time, but when I'm asking my friends or my group of friends, and just to give you some perspective, this is roughly about 20 different contractors that are decent sized contractors that are friends of mine. And, they use some of your competitors, right? And so it's like, hey, an easy question to you is like, what is that makes Avoca different than everybody else? Is there something that like sets you guys apart? Is there something that you do that they don't do? Like, this is a good chance to let everybody know, like, why, like, what's Avoca about and what's the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'd say it's multifaceted. One thing that is a huge differentiator is that we actually have our own in-house team of CSRs that allows us to do human in the loop. So when calls come in, we're able to actually understand when the caller needs a human and transfer it to the human, at the same time preserving conversational context, so that the calls get closed at the highest rate possible. I think, but yeah, actually, this question is probably a good one where Paul can chime in a bit as well, because he did a pretty lengthy evaluation.
Sure. So, hi, everybody. We took an approach that we didn't know what we didn't know. And there are a lot of vendors out there in this space, and it's very hard to distinguish what's real and what's not. So we set out for kind of a design of experiments where we tried multiple vendors concurrently and evaluated them on kind of qualitative and quantitative. Like, is the booking rate better, but also is like the voice experience as good? How does it handle interruptions? How does it do with rebuttals? So there's an art and a science to this, and it is very difficult to see when you're looking at the web page. And I mean, every vendor is going to give you a number to call, but there's only so much you can do with that. So how do you know how it really works? The only way is by putting it with your customers.
Yeah. So you were testing multiple providers at the exact same time, and which is like really typical with any of our private equity partners. Is typically you're kind of testing and kind of playing them against each other, and whoever has the best results wins the game. So sounds like Avoca won the game. So well done, Tyson.
And yeah, I guess to just finalize the thought there, I think, yeah, the final thing I'll say is that really, I think the enterprise readiness is something we pride ourselves on. And we have a bit of a unique model where we actually offer forward deployed engineers that are able to like take that next degree of customization so that our bots aren't just a generic off the shelf bot. It truly understands the business. And then the final thing is risk, right? When if you're a guy in Paul's seat, you want to take the solution that is the least risky for your business. And given the number, the enterprise customers we have, the logos, and the history, I think the risk is by far the least with Avoca.
The way we describe it internally is it's the front door to our business. So we care very deeply about the customer experience. And as I've talked to both other vendors, but also a lot of other brands outside of the TurnPoint family that are interested in exploring AI CSRs, the counsel that I've given to folks is think about who can integrate and who can iterate the best for your culture, because it is not just a technical integration with ServiceTitan, but it's also there are so many nuances. If you understand the difference between a plumbing problem and a drain problem, not everybody quite understands that. So how do your vendors, how do your partners work with you on that? That's the integration piece. And then the iteration. As you uncover, as you look at the booking rate of the AI versus your people, how are your vendors able to incorporate your feedback to close and match the performance of your human CSRs? So it's integration and iteration. That's how we think.
Yeah. And then I'll leave you with the last line I always say is like the Avoca 3 months from now will put the Avoca of today out of business. That is the speed at which we are iterating, and it's in large part due to the amazing kind of product team. Like, my co-founder and I, we met at the Voice AI Lab at MIT, and I think one of the things we really pride ourselves in is an incredible bar as it pertains to engineering and product talent, so that we're ahead now, and we want to continue to increase that lead in the future.
Yeah. How do you guys look at, or I guess maybe Tyson or can answer this? I think the biggest thing with AI is the fear, right? It's like, yeah, it is the front door of our business. What if I answer it with AI and no one books with me? So, like, what have you heard from customers? And then more so, what are the things that they see as like, oh, I had to get over that hurdle. It was a kind of a mental block for me, and now everything is fine. Or what do you typically see as like the objections to using this kind of tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely gotten better over time. I think one of the metrics we tracked pretty religiously was the amount of times a customer in the beginning, when did they discover it was an AI? In the beginning, it was basically like all the time because we would announce that it's an AI. Now we actually don't even announce it's an AI until it varies because customers have different preferences. But for the ones that don't announce it in the beginning, we actually notice a pretty large portion, 83%, don't even realize it's an AI throughout the entire 3-minute call. And that's like, early on, like maybe even a year ago, number would be probably less than 5% would actually think that it's a real person. But I would say exactly you do, and there's still sometimes you get angry customers. For those, it often takes a bit of time before they realize, wait a minute, this isn't an AI of 3 years ago that's just dumb and is going to like not actually do anything, not going to handle my problem. This AI is intelligent. In many ways, the affordances we've built into the product to be able to in real time pull customer information, like what job did you do last time, what's the age of your equipment, what address. The AI is able to actually pull those in a blink of an eye and bring that into the conversation and add value in a way that a normal CSR wouldn't. And so it's those aha moments where it's like, wait a minute, I'm not talking to a dumb bot that I've been used to for talking to my entire life. I'm talking to a bot that actually is able to be quick and pull up information faster than any normal CSR is able to. And for the portion of customers that are still extremely old fashioned and want to speak to a human, that's why we have our world class call center that we can always transfer to.
Question on the human being piece. It's cool because then you can, if it does get complicated, I'm assuming it can flip over to the human being. Okay.
Yep.
So, are they US based? Are they nearshore, offshore, or is it a variation of
Combination.
Yeah.
We have a pretty big a presence in Phoenix, and that's also where our we hired Amy Spence, who used to run call center operations at A1 with Tommy, and then also before that Authority Brands. And so we have a contingent in Phoenix. We have a contingent in Canada, and then we also have a contingent in northern Mexico.
Got it. Okay, good. I asked that because a million times I get asked that question because it's like,
Yes, no,
especially in the trades.
Absolutely. You want to speak to someone that could be your neighbor, right? So,
well, some of the experiences that we've had at Rhino is that before we used AI, we had human beings in here listening to every single phone call for every contractor, which is crazy. Like we're talking like 80 some odd people in the United States listening to phone calls, and you would almost always tell if somebody had overflow or after hours calls, and it was even near shore, the booking rates were disastrous. And it was okay. And so you're better off paying the US based team because the booking rate and conversion rates were higher. So forever those were issues, and we don't do it. So it wasn't, we just would catch it and say, oh, well, change the companies because this booking, this answering service makes me want to put my head through a wall. So, let me ask this question, and this is kind of more like on the economic side of things. How does this end up this might seem like a very simple question, but I want the listeners to think through this. How does using something like this save the contractors money on the bottom line, increase efficiency, but also at the same time, not be a pain in the ass, right? Of something that's like a problem they got to deal with as a product.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Paul, you probably think about this 24/7. So curious to get your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, Paul, I guess this is your wheelhouse, buddy. So let it rip.
Sure. So we have similar experiences with third party, which is that it's expensive and unfulfilling is the word that I use often. So the first, a combination of how do we think about business value and how do we think about managing the risk, both reputational and performance and all that. So we started very much with off hours and third party, and that allowed us to pull that number down. Then we started going to how do we put them in line with our human CSRs, and as the AI CSRs, the digital workers get to the same level as the people, now we can start to get comfortable with attrition. And I don't know what you guys have experienced, but we have found the human CSR roles are very high attrition in most cases. So as workers attrit out and as the performance of the digital worker gets to the same level as the human worker, it becomes a safety valve for that attrition risk and managing and the cost. Now you have some of your resultant people, maybe your best performers. Is there an opportunity to do some differentiated recognition so you have fewer people that you're able to take care of? I hope you understand where this is going, right? So you've got the third party costs, you've got the payroll line that you're thinking about managing effectively, the cost of talent acquisition, et cetera, that tends to go down. And then when you're at our scale, we talked about use of an IVR. When you get to a place where the digital workers, the AI CSRs are performing as well as your humans, then you start to wonder, can we just lead all inbound with AI? Now you're debating, do you really need to pay for that IVR, and what is the benefit it's giving you? So there are different steps along the way where as you're de-risking the ability, you're also returning some money to the bottom line. And in our experience, the third party service was kind of a low bar to meet the booking and dollar per job booked and all those metrics. So once we got comfortable with that, those costs fell through. That's sort of the sequencing of how we're thinking about it.
Got it. That's actually great. I didn't really necessarily think about the IVR piece of it, and what, how that would play into it. So I'll tell you guys, I'll give you my opinion. because I just had a real life scenario come up with this. I am very ADHD, not medicated, just so it's out there. Probably should have been, but I'm not. But I also I'm like, I thrive on instant gratification. Like I want to get shit done fast. Right. And if I don't have to talk to somebody, I'm completely okay with that. I would much rather somebody text me and ask me a question. But I had, a vendor that I needed to connect with, and my only option was AI service or chatbot, which annoys me, right? Because I just want to talk to the person, tell them my thing, and have them solve my problem and be done, and not be asked a string of questions, right? And so I struggle with that. Now, 46. I don't know what that means. I feel like I'm still young, but I don't mind talking to AI agents. I just want to get to the end result faster, right? Because that's the whole thing I want to do is just move on, check that box, be done, and go. Now, I'm sure you deal with some shit like that. I mean, because our Chad's customers, think the same way, right? There's a variation that happens. And I know AI is making great progress. It's becoming more known that there's AI agents, I do believe, but we're also in this bubble where we kind of just know what, like, we're all together talking about it. Does the greater market actually really understand that? I don't know. What's your perspective on this? It seems like we still have a ways to go to kind of get people to truly understand and be okay with AI answers.
I mean, I have thoughts there. My first thought is a little bit similar to the IVR conversation, where it used to be, it felt like you needed to know the secret code words to get to what you wanted to do, or you were pressing multiple buttons and it was very frustrating. And I think as people learn that these AI powered CSRs, they can handle all the questions. I want to become a technician to work for your company, or I need relief on my payment plan, or I have a drain that's overflowing. No matter what it is, you're not on hold and you're not transferring. And I think when people start to realize what's possible, I believe there'll be a bit of a shift. And then the other thing I think about is we coming into this, it feels like the industry is very focused on making the phone ring. And I believe that is a declining way that our customers are going to be engaging with us. It's going to be very SMS first, very, multi-channel inbound. And when you have an AI sitting across all those channels, now if you start in a text and then something happens and you call, or you started on a call and now I text you a question, you know who I am, you know what to do. I think it's going to unlock, it's going to shift. It's going to go from resistance to change to, negative change management. I use American Express as an example. They're still on like the legacy sort of IVR. And if I call them, it's infuriating. Like, I just want to tell you what my problem is and get to the solution.
Yeah,
To your point.
you can't.
And AI unlocks that.
You
right?
can't 0,000 customer service, and you don't get there.
Or agent, or querying, right?
It gets annoying. But I also wonder, like, at what point do people want to talk to human beings again? Like, so there is still this debate, right, that goes back and forth, and of like, I like talking to a human being, but I also like getting my problem solved fast.
Yeah, and that's why for us, like we give the folks the option, right? It's like, you can get your problem solved right now instantly by an AI that sounds, actually very empathetic. It can, like, there's been cases where the customer has been extremely upset and the AI was actually able to calm them down, in cases where probably a normal CSR would have gotten flustered. And then, but yeah, we do have that escape valve, which I think is important. Then the last thing I'll say is, like, I would just say, like, I'm always surprised at the rate at which even general public in the US has been adopting AI, right? Like, I think if you look at ChatGPT, that's a great proxy of there's a report, I think literally a couple months ago, where saying 34% of Americans now use ChatGPT, or have used it, use it on a weekly basis. So and that it doubled over the last year, right? And so the increasing rate of this adoption, I think, is something that, I'm quite bullish on. And yeah, I do think that It's getting to the point, it's not fully there yet, but we're seeing, statistically speaking, that it is starting to get on par with even your best trained in-house CSRs, which, like, honestly, 6 months ago, I didn't think was possible. That's why we invested so much in the humans, because we're like, the talking to a living soul is always going to be the gold standard. And but yeah, I think the results we're starting to see are starting to kind of challenge that.
Yeah. Hang on a second, Chad, real quick. To your point, Tyson, I gave a keynote at a roofing conference last week, and I asked the question on who's using Chat. It was part of my presentation was Chat GPT, the Google space, all that stuff. So talking all things LLM, I asked the room, we're talking like 2,000 roofing contractors who's used Chat GPT on a daily basis. Like 3/4 of the room raised their hand. And by the way, roofing is much further behind than HVAC.
Way behind an HVAC. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was like, damn, like 3/4 of the room raised their hand. So, then you talk about statistically that's really at the end of the day. Like if I'm Chad, I'm thinking, well, which one performs better? Like show me like what you talked about being best in class in booking rate. Well, if you're out booking your live staff and it's a fraction of the cost, well, it's hard to not consider that as a as a solution for my business to hit that bottom line, right? And performance is still high, sales are still high, but it's costing me less in labor. Like, sounds kind of good to me.
Exactly. And also the types of jobs it books, right? Because it's able to maintain a very clear mind. Like sometimes CSRs, they lose attention during the day, or they're too they act a little bit more emotionally. Whereas with the AI, like it can understand when it needs to remove a dispatch fee, when it needs to overbook something, and that's just the right decision. So it's like, okay, like a lot of times CSRs don't book jobs because it's like, oh, the board's full, I'm going to book out 2 weeks in advance. Well, if that's an age equipment, repair, like you should be booking that all the time. And so the AI can understand that and just act in the right game theory optimal way. Whereas CSRs, many times, unless they're a very seasoned, really sharp CSR, they don't actually make the right decisions all the time.
Yeah. But I think too, like I was looking at, I've got doing something on AI here in an hour with Tommy. And so I had him run like all of these numbers. So this is interesting. So I look at AI as like, weirdly enough, I feel like home services may be on like the cutting edge of something, which scares us a little bit, right? It's like, why are we kind of leading the charge on this? Now, obviously, thanks to great people like Tyson and who are really, really smart and are developing this stuff. But our numbers, so on an average day, 40% of our calls are booked with a live CSR. 38% of them are booked online. And then the other 22% of them are booked by AI. So when I look at that, I say, okay, online booking, you would have never thought in a million, like what, 5 years ago, like I book a restaurant reservation online. Like I don't need to call the restaurant and do this. I just get online and I book it. And like, to me, it's like AI I think even in shorter order will be that thing that like, that's just how people understand that they want to, that's how you do business. And so, we've had it live for call it 3 months, maybe 4-ish. I don't even know what month it is now. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4. And like, it's amazing, the like buddies of mine who will call, they'll talk to AI and they're asking me, what system is that? How do I get that in my business? Because it was super fast and efficient and so on and so forth. But I still think there's a role for the CSR where there is an issue that I need to talk to somebody. Like I need to explain what's going on. But the vast majority of our calls are, I know I have a problem. I don't know what's going on. That's why I'm calling you. Send somebody out here and fix the damn thing. So I think it's like understanding why your customer is actually calling. Yes, there's a percentage of customers who are calling to explain their situation, voice their frustration, whatever it is. And to me, that's why you have live people who can do that. Not that an AI agent can't show the empathy and do all of that. But, you may just be at that breaking point where I need to talk to a live person, like get me to a manager. So yeah, I think it's coming. I mean, our data is showing that people are using it, and they're having and feedback that I get is they're having a good experience. And I think you still get the people, our technicians are like, oh, the customer, they didn't like talking to AI. And I'm like, well, did they want to hold for an hour? Like, or just book the appointment? We're there. So obviously they were cool with it. So I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic for sure.
That's actually cool, like real-time feedback on the difference between the three things. I'd be curious to see I guess the online booking piece of it is obviously something I've chased for over a decade at this point, trying to get people to book online and chase it down and get them to adopt e-commerce and stuff like that. But this one seems to be being adopted much faster. So that was interesting. I know Aaron mentioned the same thing because I was asking him what's the drop off rate on some of these calls that AI are answering? Like, what are you finding? What are you listening to? As a digital marketing guy, I think Paul, both you and Tyson can appreciate this. I want as many calls booked as I possibly can of leads that I generate because it certainly helps me too, right? Instead of the contract.
That's so true. Like a lot of times, the funniest thing is we realized this around 6 to 9 months ago. It's at the end of the day, our biggest champion in the business wasn't the director of call center operations. It was actually the director of marketing, because it's okay, wait, my cost per booked lead has just gone down by 50%. And it's yeah, wait, I mean, the fact that you're able to handle calls and convert leads at a much higher rate is actually just it's just very helpful for them.
Oh yeah, it's helpful to all of us. Jeez, I mean, especially the ones who don't know what statistics to look at. They just look at close revenue.
Yeah.
It's helpful there. Hey, I want to ask a question. I don't want to forget this. Kind of along the lines of what you guys were just talking about. So I'm thinking more technically, how does this work? When the AI is booked, like Chad's multi-service, multi-location, multi-service, or multi-trade, how does it know to book the right time slots, get it into the CRM, and maybe even the right technician? Is it able to book the right technician? Because a lot of these sophisticated businesses have their tech stacked, right, and ranking order on who should handle what type of lead. Is it able to accomplish these things? Is that something that's on the horizon? Give me the scoop. And how does it all get into the CRM?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really good question. And we can, happy to dive in a bit deeper for the more technical folks in the audience here.
I think what you should do, Tyson, I mean, to cut you off, explain it like we're fifth graders, right? Like that we don't know. But what I just want to understand is high level. Does it do these things? Number one. And if it does, kind of how does this thing give me the fifth grade terms, man, on how that goes down. Because if you go too deep, we'll lose everybody.
Yeah. We'll do. So first of all, yes, it does do those things. The way it does this is the following. Chad calls in, he has an air conditioning problem. Our AI CSR is able to instantly, as soon as he calls in, assuming he is an existing customer, run an API call that matches his caller ID into whatever CRM you're using. Let's say it's ServiceTitan. And pull all of Chad's information. So all of a sudden, I know everything about Chad's as much as the data is in the ServiceTitan or previous calls. So then it's okay, Chad, are you still living here? Yes. You have an air conditioning problem. Now he's okay, he wants to schedule it. So when we schedule it, we then look back into the CRM again and look at what our schedule is. And so there's multiple ways to do it. We can look at it at the technician level, or a lot of folks, the popular option is to looking at it at the ACP or adaptive capacity level. And all ACP is saying is, for the different job types, what is the available capacity we have on different days of the week? So let's say Chad has a equipment that's only 3 years, and he wants to, it's making weird noises. So you need someone to go out and repair it and inspect it. Then it'll say, okay, for that job type, here are the availabilities. It'll pull those availabilities, and then it will offer it to Chad. And then Chad can select one, and then it books the job. And then for companies that want to, oftentimes they'll have dispatching be a separate process that happens day of as you get all of the jobs, and then you can run another optimization. It's like, okay, I have all these jobs where we have one guy that's way better at selling than all my other guys. I want to make it so that he gets all of the high probability events that could be turnover. So that's kind of probably the most popular option. And then for some people, they want to do it so that the technician is already pre-assigned, and we can do that as well based on their skill sets.
Yeah, to just add on to that, we're on the same journey that Tyson just described. And as you get into this, especially at our larger brands, the distance between the contact center and dispatch gets very, very tight. And there are things you need to do to optimize for what you're trying to solve. You have to contemplate things like arrival windows. Like, some businesses find it's very important to have those from a customer relationship standpoint. But the trade-off is, if you open up your arrival windows, you have more variables to play with, and your technicians and your business may in fact earn more money if you start stepping away from those, but that's a different customer experience. So you've got different things to consider in what is important for your brand.
Yeah, honestly, that was that whole explanation there was great, because that's like some of the things we really have to think about in our businesses is like, we want to max every opportunity. So the fact that Nick can automatically choose, or help make it easy for us to choose the right technician to go to the right job to max the average ticket, or to max the ticket. And then knowing how easy it is to actually use, like Chad's team needs to be able to easily use this tool, right? So it doesn't overcomplicate, the business or their job, because if that happens, there's resistance, in actually adopting the tools. I want to ask a quick question. I'm going to go back on this booking rate thing, because Tyson, you straight up said best in class booking rate. I heard you loud and clear. Do you have like a benchmark that you guys look for that you determine is successful? Like, hey, our booking rate that we expect out of this thing is this, or at least like a range. I get there can be some variability to it, but do you have like, hey man, this is what we say, like we put our stamp on this is the number we're shooting for?
Yeah. So the benchmarks is obviously based on the company, because there's two metrics that we are obsessing over. First is raw booking rate. That metric is the one that can't lie. That's just out of the total number of calls made, like how many did you book, and that typically can be more in the 20s to 30s depending on the mix of calls. And then there's qualified lead booking rate. Qualified lead booking rate is something that takes a bit of education, because not many people have an accurate sense of what that actually means. And so we have a whole process, and this is where coach comes in as well, where it's like, hey, define with us, what do you define as a bookable call, right? It's a call that, for example, it's a call that is a caller expressing interest in a service that you do, that's in the area that you do. That's kind of the general high level definition. And then we can calculate that. Once we establish those, because there's so much variability, if you're the dominant player in your market, if you're the less dominant, which market you're in, the benchmarks are only as good as what you like your historical numbers. So what we would do then is we go to, for example, Paul, and as Paul is like, running these numbers, we'll say, okay, what was historically the after hours overflow, raw booking rate, and true booking rate, that we hope we usually come in and just obliterate that, and it's not even close. And then over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, as AI is getting smarter and smarter and better, then the next milestone is to have a raw booking rate and a qualified lead booking rate higher than the average in-house CSR. And then once that milestone 2 hits, that's when we flip the switch and go and have the customer use our AI as a first line of defense.
Yeah. I think
And
too,
we are on that exact journey. That is exactly how we're approaching it. The one additional metric that we think a lot about is transfer rate. So of the calls that the AI handles, what are the percentage of calls that then go to humans? And we use transfer because if it's, I just don't want to talk to an AI, is that really an escalation? Versus a call where, hey, your technician put a hole in my drywall when they were bringing in the hot water heater. Like, okay, we probably need to have a human talk to that person. So that's why we look at those numbers.
Yeah, I think too, another important point, and I was talking about this not too long ago, is that, one, all contractors, whether you're using AI or not, you need to know what your true booking rate is. How many, we got 100 calls, but it's usually half, 50 of them were actually qualified leads. The one thing that we uncovered as we dug deeper into this and we're looking to implement AI and stuff like that is one, okay, what is our booking rate? What's acceptable? What are we shooting for? So on and so forth. The interesting piece of the puzzle that we uncovered that I did not think of at first, but it proved out to be very insightful, is that your call booking rate is not all the fault of your CSR. A lot of people are like, oh, my CSRs aren't any good. Our booking rate's at 60%. What we learned and what I think is important is take all of your unbooked calls, and usually the CSR will tell you why it didn't book. And you can obviously go back and verify, but a lot of the times your booking rate is affected by the capacity that you have in operations. You can take the best damn CSR, the most well-trained AI, and if you don't have availability for a week, you can't book that call. Like, it's impossible. And so what we learned, especially with having multi-location, is we learned where we were deficient. So like, oh shoot, I'm seeing a lot of unbooked calls in this particular area. Oh, well, that makes sense. We're 2 technicians light. We need to hurry up and staff that, and that's a high priority. So we need to get more capacity there, or we need to adjust our marketing spend, maybe bring that down because we only have a couple technicians there and that's all we can take care of. So I think it's really, really important as you start to dig into this is your operations hurting your booking rate in some form or fashion? And how do you marry those two so that we can make sure we have the right amount of techs in a particular area, and our CSRs are set up for success? If you're telling them they got to book a call a week out, like it's going to be hard to book that unless it's like a maintenance visit or something.
Yeah, and that's another area that we actually help with as well, which is like we understand when you're going to have peaks in demand and are able to proactively reschedule so that you're able to not be in a situation where you're constricted and it's like 120 degrees in Phoenix, but it's like, wait, 2/3 of my board is already full. And so, you're just going to be turning away a lot of like
Right.
golden
And
calls.
the jobs that are filling the board are, annual maintenance inspections, and you're turning away new HVAC installs. Like, talk about crazy making.
Yeah, so it sounds like the coach piece would actually kind of help catch that, because you have your raw booking rate and you have your qualified lead booking rate, but it's not taking into consideration that piece of it Chad's just talking about. But it's an important part to know that Susie couldn't book the qualified lead because not of a fault of her own. But it sounds like the coaching tool would be something that would catch that piece of it too, because it would be able to recognize reasoning, right, for the no booking or non-booking call, and that can be learned, right, and to also create some metric. Question: as you guys were talking, I was thinking about this. Have you seen brand equity impact these booking rate numbers, even with AI? Like, the more well-known the brand that you're seeing an impact, like we would, like in a marketing campaign, we see clearly that brand equity matters. We see our higher conversion rates, higher booking rates, higher revenue, things like that. Are you seeing any of that correlation with AI booking?
Yeah, we do. The more well-known brands, people just call it a book and that's it. So, whereas for the lesser-known brands, sometimes it's a battle, and there's a lot of salesmanship. So, yeah, we 100% see it. I mean, Paul, I'm sure for you guys too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about this last week, Tyson, where the number of customers, if you will, that don't want to talk to AI varies by region, by brand. How much of that is geographic? How much of that is brand reputation? I don't know that we know the answer to that, but it is definitely not a one-size-fits-all answer.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, you would think it would, right? Because it's still human behavior. Like, you've built the brand, made them feel a certain way, and now this is just the way to capture it, whether it be human or AI.
If I could, dovetailing off that a little bit, we talk internally a lot about how we are a trust-based business, and we are very adamant about making it clear early in the conversation to our customers that they're talking to an AI. We don't want them to feel surprised or deceived or whatever. That said, we're smart. We do A/B testing. And do we see a significantly better performance by the AI when it wasn't disclosed? We're not doing it anymore, and we didn't do it intentionally. We just weren't emphasizing the need to state, and we have since emphasized the need to state. But were the numbers better when we weren't disclosing? They were. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like the right way to do it, but it's hard not to look at that and wonder.
Well, that was some of the conversations that I had was exactly around that, about mentioning it or not mentioning it and seeing the dip and the drop off and even negative reviews that people get from, that, and competitors will use it against you as we still have human, like, they'll try to use it as leverage on, like, we still have human beings answer our phones because we really care about people. It's not robots. Like, this is a marketing tactic, right?
Mhm.
But there's some reality to it too. That sometimes they're like, people will get negative reviews because they went all AI, like they took all the personal feel out of this business. Now it's just AI. But I still think there's stuff all over the place that can impact the business. I still think over the big picture, it's minimal, and it's going to continue to shrink, right? Because it's going to become so
It's
much
still
more.
very new. Do I think this is going to be something in a year or two from now? I don't think that's going to be a marketing tactic for long.
Well, listen, people complain about CSRs, right? Like, CSRs can make, they can piss somebody off when they leave a negative review. So it's really not much of a difference. So there's still all that exists. Okay, guys, we're coming up on towards the end of this thing too. So I'm just going to ask like one question, because I do want people who are kind of like, okay, cool, maybe this is something I should consider. Let's just talk about what it's like to onboard this thing. Like, what does setup look like? If somebody's like, cool, I think I want to do this in general, like what does setup look like, kind of getting it going, stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe I can touch a little bit on like for smaller companies, and then Paul is probably the best person to talk about what it's like as an enterprise.
There you go.
For a small company, we're pretty opinionated. We work with now at this point over 900 of the top home service business across the nation. So we give you a few options that are all tried and tested bots with built-in things that we know like work really well. And then it's like a 2-week process. You get up and going, get your integrations, get your scheduling stuff, choose your voice, and then it's off to the races. And there'll be some continuous improvements, but that's for kind of your small business. And Paul, you want to talk about for what it's like for as an enterprise?
Yep, super briefly. When we first started this process, it was very white glove, and we took whatever idiosyncratic processes the brands had and we sort of automated in place. But we know enough now on how to maximize the benefit of this capability. So we come in with a point of view. We have a checklist of things that we need people to do. And once they've cleared that checklist, then it looks very similar to what Tyson described, where you go from an initial meet and greet to you are testing this thing internally and then with customers in just a matter of weeks.
And you have ongoing support, right? Obviously, like ongoing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cadence of that looks like, but
this is a long-term relationship. This is not a transaction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way we approach it. It's like really we're on this journey not just to provide you really one solution. It's like we're on this journey to be your AI partner and make the entire customer journey AI native for these businesses that power America. And the last thing I'll say is with our agents, it's very much a lot of people have this misconception that it's like setting up software. It's like you download this new program, it works. Not at all. I will actually venture to say that setting up and training these agents is a lot more akin to training a new CSR than it is learning a new piece of software. And what that means is like just like a new CSR, you have to listen to their calls, you have to provide coaching. The only thing is that it learns and gets better, and you don't have to train it over and over again. And you don't have to train 100 people. You can just train this one agent. So
or pay benefits for them.
High potential. Think of it as a high potential digital worker with a nearly unlimited ceiling that never forgets.
Yeah, and never gets any days off or has benefits. Perfect. That's how it impacts the bottom line. That's perfect. I like that. Well, number one, appreciate you guys coming on here, talking through all this with me. I had like 3 more questions I never got to, but we kind of ran out of time. But number one, Tyson, thanks for the sponsorship, man. We really appreciate your sponsorship here on the podcast. And hopefully we can actually get you into Rhino X this next year, which is going to be a banger. I got the theme squared away, so we'll roll that out here in a few weeks.
Excited. Yeah. We'll come full force. And
I always got to keep stepping it up a notch. And so I think I got it figured out.
Where have you announced the location yet?
It's going to be here in Arizona. It's always out here in Arizona. That way we can, most of the time it's warm. There's only been one time when it was cold and Chad still cries about it to this day, but most of the time it's at the end of February. It's warm. So, but hey, Tyson, well done, man, on building an incredible product. 900 contractors. That's fantastic. And honestly, like this is super cool. Like it's at the end of the day, it makes these companies more efficient and it books more, which ultimately turns into more revenue and a better return, right? Like, so that's the game, man. More efficient, better net profit. Like, what more do we want? Still booking clients. So I'll be curious to see what else you come up with, dude. Smart guy. I can't. I'm sure you're already thinking about things that we haven't talked about yet. So what's the best way for anybody to listen to connect with you or to connect with Avoca AI once they're done listening to this?
Yeah, I always just give my personal number. It's 717-318-0198. So you can feel free to reach out. Otherwise, the easiest and fastest way is probably to just go to our website, which is www.avoca.ai, and you can book a meeting with one of our lovely sales folks.
AI agents?
Not yet. We value the personal touch quite a bit. So.
I hope you got a filter process on that number you gave out, and that wasn't your cell phone.
Actually, it is. So yeah, it's all good though.
Okay, listeners, let it rip. 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Those are the best times. Go ahead and set scheduled text messages, and tell them it's a gift from your boy Chris. You're welcome, Tyson. Hey, Paul, appreciate you joining us, man. Tyson, thanks for joining us. And listen, cool stuff, man. Hope our listeners take advantage of this stuff too. I mean, when a lot of the bigger players using this stuff, they've pretty well thought through how well this does for their business. And I think these guys gave proof enough, to get involved with this. So, and then if you have any more questions you can answer, Tyson just gave you his phone number. Just text him and ask him. I guess if you guys want us to make any connections with that are listeners to Tyson or Paul any other way, like just reach out to the Point team. We'll get you hooked up. So guys, appreciate you so much. Congratulations on the cool business, Tyson, and to our listeners, you don't got to do everything, but you got to do something. No 0 days.